The one position, though, that we have talked a lot about is left tackle. The Patriots still have the need there. Vrabel was asked specifically if he feels like there's a tackle in this class that would be worthy of being taken at 4 overall. He said, I think there's some starting tackles in this class that certainly will come in and start in the NFL. I think that's really what you start to look for, impact players. When you start picking that high, what they're going to do for you, what's the impact, what's the position? You talk about premium positions. That's what you weigh all the circumstances and end up making the pick. Do I think there are starters in this draft at left tackle? Yes, I do. So that can be taken one of two ways. The question was not, are there starting left tackles in this draft? The question was, are there starting left tackles at the 4th overall pick? He starts off by saying, I think there's some starting tackles that will certainly come in and start in the NFL. Okay, well, that's not addressing the 4th overall pick. But then he talks about when you're picking that high, what the players are going to do for you, what's their impact, what's their position. You talk about premium position. Tackle's a premium position. So this is a glass half full, glass half empty thing. Is this, he does think,
it's a Rorschach test, Barth.
Kind of, yeah. His definition of a player worthy being taken at 4 a starter. He may say, well, we have to get a starter at 4. There are starting left tackles in this draft. So yes, because there are guys ready to start, there are guys who are worth that 4th overall pick. Or do you interpret it as, well, yeah, there's a lot of starting tackles in this draft, so we don't need to take one with the 4th overall pick because we can get one later.
Yeah, you got to wonder what he thinks of the 4th overall pick and how he looks at that pick in general, like how he would look at the 4th overall pick in any draft. And that's sort of something we've talked about,
yeah.
Barthy, where like this isn't the same kind of year as you had, say, last year or 2021, where the 4th overall pick has a lot more value and you're getting a much, much better, higher impact player than you're getting in this draft. And so I personally think, like, if you can get a good starter in the top 10 in this draft, you've done a pretty good job. I think like this is just a draft where I know you've been big on this, where it's like, it's not really a bad draft. It's a bad draft if you're looking for, instant all pros, blue chip guys. There's no Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. It's not that kind of draft.
It's not a star draft. It's a starter draft.
That's what you were saying.
Yes.
I heard you say that on Sunday Kickoff with Cerrone, that like, it's deep with starting caliber players. And like, yeah, in my research too, just looking at the 1st and 2nd round anyway, day 2, you get into the 3rd round, you can get starting caliber players for a pretty good while in this draft. You're just not necessarily going to get the all pro instant impact guys, which is fine. It doesn't necessarily make it a bad draft. Like if this draft had 5 or 6 all pros at the top and then a huge drop off and you didn't have many starters after that, is that a good draft? Like, I think it's fair to question that, but it's a fair question of Vrabel. Like, how does he view this particular draft? How does he view it? What's his general view of it? And yeah, he sort of wavered. He was a little wishy-washy on like going, referring to that 4th overall pick. But yeah, it sounds like he echoed what Elliot Wolf was saying. And I'm trying to think of someone else that said something similar recently. It might have just been Elliot Wolf, that they're going to make a sizable investment at left tackle, whether it's with 4th overall or they trade back up in the 1st round. At the end of the 1st round, maybe there's someone there in the 2nd round for him, but I think they're going to make a significant investment at left tackle. And you got to assume that he views tackle as a premium position.
Yeah.
And quickly, he mentioned the difference between premium position and impact players. So I think you can sort of take Ashton Genty off the table, right? He probably doesn't view running back as one of those premium positions, right? Like he'll be an impact player, but he doesn't play a premium position. So I think they weigh those two things. And I think he probably puts more weight than maybe the average guy into playing a premium position because he brought it up specifically. Yeah. And so I expect them to make an investment at tackle, whether it's the 4th overall pick or trading back up into the 1st, 2nd round. Like we're going to see a tackle early for them, I believe.
Look, there are multiple starting left tackles in this draft, some that is coach speak too. Obviously there are, but there's not a lot. And I still think if that guy's not the pick at 4, they're going to need to move up to get somebody. Maybe Ariante Arisary falls to you at 38. That's about it. Josh Connolly is going to be 1st overall pick. Felger and Matt's big board pick. Josh Connolly is going to be, did I say 1st overall? 1st round pick. He's going to be a 1st round pick. Kelvin Banks obviously is going to go top 10, top 15 at the slightest. They might not even be able to trade up to get him. Josh Simmons has the talent, and Vrabel talked about this as well. He was asked what he learned in Tennessee, and something he brought up, and I can't give the full answer because it was long and nuanced, but basically, like, you have to consider injuries when you take players. And Simmons is coming off that torn patella tendon. That is not an easy injury to recover from. And not just in the short term, in the long term. So that doesn't mean the Patriots won't take him, but that means his evaluation isn't going to be as simple as turning on the tape. Is this guy good? Yes or no? If we think he's good, we're going to take him. That medical evaluation for him. And by the way, a lot of players in this draft, there's a odd number, like more than usual, players projected to go top 100, top 150 that missed significant time last year. But Simmons is kind of at the top of that list. That medical evaluation and how he healed, not just when he'll be ready, but where is the durability of his knee at for the long term, that's going to be very important. The Patriots have had guys here who had knee injuries in college. They drafted him one high in Dominique Easley. Malcolm Mitchell was a 4th-round pick. They healed. They were able to get back on the field in the short term, but long term, the durability wasn't there. So that's what you're asking yourself about Josh Simmons. It's a long way of saying there are starting caliber tackles in this draft. There aren't that many. If they're not taking one at 4, I still think they're going to need to be aggressive to get one. To your running back point 2, he was asked, Vrabel's asked point blank if he has any thoughts on whether or not running backs are worth a top 10 pick. He said, no, I don't, as in just being in the room. He doesn't have any thoughts on that specifically. I think that that's individualized based on how good the player is, how talented, and what impact he's going to make, his ability to play on all 3 downs, his ability to catch the football, his ability to create mismatches, and obviously then what the team covets. I think that's the most important. So to your point, that sounds like he's hyping up Ashton Jeanty because Ashton Jeanty checks all those boxes. And then it comes down to what the team covets. Well, if they covet a premium position, he can think Ashton Jeanty's a great player, but not worth that top 10 pick because that's not how he wants to build his football team.
Yeah, I think you look at Ashton Jeanty as, yes, great individual talent, but what does Mike Vrabel covet? What does he value? He values the guys in front of the running back. Yeah. He values the trench warfare between the offensive line and the defensive line. In terms of the Patriots and their offense, he's definitely going to value rebuilding the offensive line before taking a plunge with Ashton Jeanty with the 4th overall pick. I completely agree with that. And you mentioned most of the names as far as the starting caliber tackles. Will Campbell, Ariante Ursary, Josh Connerly, Josh Simmons, and you add in Kelvin Banks, and those to me are the 5 starting caliber tackles in this draft, left tackles in the draft. Armand Membu is going to get drafted high, but he's a right tackle.
Well, so the interesting thing is we go back a month to the owners' meetings in Vrabel and Wolf with Felger, or is Vrabel on Membu specifically, but
we're getting them all mixed up at this point. Vrabel, they've been everywhere.
Week and 2 days. Vrabel talked highly about both Campbell and Membu as potential left tackles. So I'll as much as I don't love the idea of moving him over, if we're being predictive, I'll throw Membu in there for the Patriots. But he's at 4. So the idea is if they take a tackle at 4, they can take Campbell. The idea is, to me, if you don't take the tackle at 4, who are your options? I don't think Kelvin Banks is one because it's going to cost them too much to trade up that high. I still think he's going, again, 15 to me is like his floor.
Yeah, no, you're talking about trading down to take one of those guys.
Yes,
if they're going to take Simmons or Banks. Yeah.
Simmons, so Simmons is a weird one because it depends on the injury. If the injury stuff checks out really well.
You think he could slip?
So if the injury stuff is not good, I think he falls. But then it's this conundrum of, well, if he fell because of the injury, do we want to take him because the injury is clearly bad? And if the injury is good enough that you'd be willing to take him in the 20s, well, he's probably not going to go in the 20s because he's healthy enough that he can go higher. So Simmons is kind of a weird one. That's up to everybody's own interpretation. But to me, it's Connerly and Ursary. If you're not taking a tackle at 4, it's Connerly and it's Ursary. Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing. And how fitting was it, by the way, Matt, that as Vrabel came to the podium today, Tyron Smith retired. He's done. That was the last veteran starting caliber left tackle out there. So now it's going to have to come from the draft.
Well, no, he signed a 1-day contract.
Oh, so you're saying wait it out.
Right. No, tomorrow he's back on the market.
I did see that.
Guys come out of retirement all the time, Barth. If you don't think the Patriots will bring Tyron Smith out of retirement, you're an idiot.
Could you imagine if a guy signed a 1-day contract to retire and then signs else after? That would be outstanding. But no, it's unless Tyron Smith is going to pull a fast one on old Jerry Jones, it's probably the tackle's going to have to come through the draft, it seems like.
But you retired. Yeah, for 1 day. Now I'm back. What do you want?